Today we're here with Tracy and Christine, a franchisee with Pink Wand Cleaning Services. We're going to talk about why communication is key to holding a partnership together. We're going to talk about how to actually build and invest in a staff that want to come into work every day, even sometimes on their time off. We're going to talk about how all businesses are the same, even if at the end of the day the product that they sell is different, as well as the power of numbers. How you can use them to not just grow the company, but to actually multiply your results if you do them the right way.
I'm Dennis.
And I'm Greg,
And this is the More Profit, Less Stress podcast.
where we provide the tools for more profit and less stress in your business now so you can turn into a valuable asset later. Welcome to the More Profit, Less Stress podcast. I'm Greg. I'm here with Dennis Taekema. And our guests today are Christine and Tracy from the Pink Wand Cleaning Services. And they own two territories, two franchises, Cochrane and West Calgary, which are both in Alberta, Canada. Welcome, ladies. How are you?
Thank you. Hello.
Doing well,
We're good.
thanks.
So the reason we are excited to have you as a guest is we think your story is incredible. Like, it's a really great story, the whole story. And I think anybody that gets the opportunity to hear it, it's a very inspiring story about how to kind of deal with adversity and succeed in business and in life. Actually, it's the same formula. But before we get into the story, tell us a little bit about your business and what area you service.
Sure, yeah. So we are a cleaning company. We do residential and commercial cleaning, and we service Cochrane and Calgary West at this point. Cochrane and surrounding area, and then West Calgary.
Cool. What separates the Pink Wand Cleaning Services from other cleaning companies? I think a lot of people that are looking for a cleaner will sometimes go to like Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or Kijiji or someplace like that. What advice would you give to people? Because some people listening to this are not in your territory, so they can't hire you. But what advice would you give to them on when you're looking for a cleaning company? What should I be looking for?
So I guess the very first important thing is when you're hiring a cleaner, a lot of people like to hire just an individual person, but things to think about there is that a lot of times they don't have insurance. So if something happens in your home where they hurt themselves or they break a piece of your furniture or wreck your floors or anything like that, they don't have coverage to be able to pay to replace those things. Also, we do operate under a WCB as well. So if a staff member gets hurt in the home, we're insured for that. They get coverage if they're hurt where they have to leave work, those sorts of things. But then also we spend a lot of time cultivating our staff and making our staff happy, which in turn shows up in the customer service area of it. So we have highly detailed cleans, very attention to detail, and our staff are very happy and exude positivity when they come into your house.
And I got to think another thing is, because I've had this happen to me in my own life, is if you have an individual cleaner from Facebook Marketplace or something, if something happens in their day and they can't make it, then maybe they can't make it for another 3 weeks. At least with a cleaning company like yours, because you have a number of cleaners, you can figure out a way to make sure that clean happens. I think that's another big important point. Cool. Thank you.
Yep, for
Well,
sure.
and what about theft? Like, you're going to phone up some rando from
Right.
Marketplace and be like, come into my house and rifle through my stuff and
Yeah.
please don't touch
Yeah.
my grandma's ring or whatever. And then they leave and you accuse them of theft and then they deny it. And now it's just a whole gong show. Like, I can't imagine.
Yeah, good point too, because we are bonded as well. So we do require a background check on every one of our staff members as well.
Yeah, well, I'm also going to assume that if something goes missing, you can go after the company versus how do you go after an individual? How do you prove it, right? So, yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't just let some rando into my house to rifle through all of my things and say, by the way, can you clean while you're here?
And I think it's a trust level at all levels. Like, as the owner, we need to trust our staff. And in turn, when the client calls in, we can say very confidently that there's trust at all levels. And so even when, like, we call after every clean, we'll call and say, how was your clean? And we're fully expecting them to say, it's been amazing.
If you don't say amazing, we'll send the Pink Wand Goon Squad after you until you change your mind. But I also would assume then, because of the structure, like, this is just me thinking this whole thing through. If I'm going to hire somebody personally, I'm going to vet the crap out of them. So if I'm a homeowner, I already know that whoever's coming into my house has been vetted. I don't have to go through all of the interviewing and worrying and whatever. It's done for me. It should bring me less stress. And I'm also going to assume you guys probably get a good chunk of business from referrals. which goes a long way too. So now it's like I'm not just hiring so and so off of Marketplace. It's I actually have some peace of mind when they come through.
The other thing I've really been noticing as our staff and our core people are growing is that they take so much pride in a first time client, retaining that client, and then they own it as almost, this is my client. Can I have them as my client going forward? So there are quite strong relationships formed, but in the same breath, like you had mentioned previously, if that person is sick or decides to go on holidays, we can still send another team. But there is definitely a good quality to having the same person go on a regular basis, building that trust. But once they've built that trust, it extends to the company as well.
Well, and learning how that customer would like certain places done differently than other customers might like those places done. Like my wife is picky, but she deserves to be. It's her house.
Exactly, yeah.
If there's a quick vacuum that needs to get done, she sends me. I get the entire house done in 5 minutes, but that means I miss everything. So I should hire you.
And that's also a good point, I think, too, is that we do have a system in place that all of our staff are trained the same. So no matter who's in the home, you're getting the same quality of clean. We have a checklist. And so it's not like they might prefer that certain person, but it doesn't mean that they're not going to get the same clean if we end up having to send a different team.
That's awesome.
So you guys just happen to love cleaning so much you started a
Greg, I do
how'd
not
you get
like
into
cleaning.
cleaning
Not
company?
at all.
How do you make that transition? Like how'd you get there?
Oh my. I'll let you handle this, Christine.
So
Just because you hate cleaning so much.
yeah, well, eight years ago, I had this great idea as a personal trainer at TriFit to train a cleaning company so that I never have to do my own house cleaning. So it's been in the works for a while. So that's when Jackie and I met. I started training Jackie and I said, I don't want your money. I want my house cleaned. So that's where our trade started happening and where we started cultivating our relationship. And so by the time the opportunity for Pink Wand came along, I knew the business from a client standpoint, which was pretty neat approach to the company. A lot of people might not have that. And Jackie knew how we ran a business because she was in there all the time at the gym working out. So we knew how to run a business. Obviously, from working with Greg, we had all that background as well. And so then the transition was actually quite easy because business to business, we're finding everything applies in the same way.
Well, it's person to person.
Just for
right?
Yeah.
And just for the listener, describe who Jackie is.
Jackie is the owner of the corporate, the Pink Wand Services, and she has been running it for 18 years now. And so she has really built it up and she's built a really nice franchise model. And so because I'd spent so much time with her, we had talked so much business that I knew where she was coming from. I knew what the franchise model looked like. I knew what their database looked like. And so those are all so easily transferable. I just had to make sure I implemented, and Tracy obviously as well. As long as we both followed the guidelines on how to do it, we just had to put the efforts in.
So you have a fitness business and this, or would you train to transition? What happened there?
Well, we did,
We
yes.
had a fitness business. Back up, what was it, 13? How many years ago, Christine?
3 years ago.
14, 15. Well, 15 years ago when you and I met and started a business, and that was TriFit. And that's actually how we got to know Greg, is because we were doing the business in TriFit. We thought we were doing well, but we knew that we always kind of wanted to have a coach to know if we were doing things properly or not. And so that's when we met Greg. We thought we were doing great because we had money in our bank account and everything. But then with working with Greg, went through the spreadsheets and the P&L and realized that, I guess we do need help, just because we weren't really concentrating on our numbers. And so that's where our relationship started with Greg. Then through that, we were doing well. And then COVID hit. And as you know, it closed a lot of businesses for a substantial amount of time. And so we were trying to recover from that. And it was quite difficult. We were trying to do a lot of different things to pay the bills. As you know, it's hard to run a gym when you can't have people come into it. So we did a lot of different things, online training, showed up at people's homes and trained on their lawn, on their garage pad. And so from there, we just tried as best we could to survive. I don't know, it was working, but at the same time, for us to be successful, we needed to look for something else. And so I just approached Christine, and this opportunity with Jackie came up, and it was just like, we have to do something. And so we decided to jump both feet in and ran both businesses for how long, Christine?
2 years.
Was it 2 years? Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then during that period, we were able to build the business back up to a point where we could sell it. And so we ended up selling TriFit and then jumping all in with Pink Wand. So that was basically the last 3 years have been that.
I think there's some really unbelievable things that happened in the middle of that story that we should dive back into. When COVID hit, one of the industries that got absolutely smashed was the fitness industry, like gyms. So they literally, the government said, hey, you got to close your doors, which, by the way, is fucking ridiculous, because when there's people are sick, you should be exercising. I mean, that's not rocket science. I'm sorry. Unbelievably stupid. So it happened anyway. They close your doors, and you guys, Tracy, as you said, you had to figure out ways to make it happen. I remember seeing the videos you showed me, like you were doing Zoom workout sessions, which great way to pivot. Mm-hmm. Awesome. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you also do some recorded workouts and courses where people could go in and watch the videos?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we
so you
created
pivoted and did
workshops.
That. Yeah. So again, pivot, trying new things. And then the icing on the cake for me, anyway, in your story is, the icing on the cake is where you're at today, and we'll get into that. But a really cool ingredient of your story is the day that you guys told me you would pull to work within the rules, you'd pull your truck up on the street in front of your customer. Sorry, I got tears in my eyes because I'm laughing. You'd pull your truck up in front of the street, in front of your customer's house. And as I recall, you said you'd stand in the back of your truck and you would train your customer, your client, stand in the back of your truck while they're in their front yard. Like,
so sorry, why did you let that go as a business model?
Right. It is a lot of manual labor.
We're now offering the truck workouts. Winter is going to be fun.
Yeah. And we had to put the equipment out on the driveway, sanitize it, back away, and have our workout up on a dry eraser board, because the last thing we needed is to get these fines that everybody was threatening. So we were trying to follow the rules, and you have to be creative to work with those very restrictive rules.
The secret is always between the lines.
It is always.
Absolutely.
I live by that, Dennis.
And I think as I recall, you two were, even again as small business owners, trying to help in the community and help the community thrive, help your customers thrive, help them get healthy during a time that they needed that. As I recall, the two of you were advocates of going to your local government, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but mayor or government representative in your area or whatever, to advocate for, hey, people need this. Like, how can we work within these rules to help people exercise, which helps them mentally and physically, right? So as I recall, you did some of that, right?
Yeah, we were lucky to have the MLA work out at our gym. So she knew what we were about. And I think for the first portion, she was really trying to support us. But in the end, it was too far out of her hands as well. Like the smaller government officials didn't have as much control as they initially thought at the beginning. But the last summer, they actually wouldn't allow us to train outside. So they had RCMP driving by,
I remember all that crap.
We were not training outside. And the fellow who came in had, what did he have? 2 masks on. Then he had the big visor on, and he had the whole outfit on. So it was hard when people had that belief system to work within their rules.
It's hard.
So well, I'm sorry, small tangent, but who the hell gets the right to determine who's relevant and not relevant, and necessary and not necessary, and essential and not essential? Anyway, so you guys weathered through a very difficult, uncontrollable storm that you had no way of predicting was going to happen, or there was no set plan to navigate through. So you pushed it anyway.
So wait, so then I got to bring this up. So they try all the different things we just talked about and just kept bumping into brick walls. They couldn't do it. So then they come up with another little business model to get them through the pandemic. What was that?
The Smash Room.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I loved it, but so much
So
work.
describe that. What was it? Talk about it. What did you do?
So this was after the pandemic, when everything kind of went back to where you could be in the same vicinity as people. But we needed to find another avenue to make money to pay the bills. Christine went on and bought one of those tents that you set up, one of those great big tents, the great big white ones. Tent. Yeah, and so she took all the measurements, made sure that it would fit in our facility, and it did. And we would set this tent up and smash shit, like you would just smash whatever. We'd have people donate bottles and jars and electronics and anything, and you just go in with a sledgehammer or a baseball bat or a golf club, anything like that, and just smash things.
But I wasn't allowed to bring my favorite politician, right?
I was saying that.
We actually thought about printing off faces and putting them on but that was a little too far, yeah.
This video is for educational purposes only.
The cleanup was tough.
Oh, it was awful.
People smashed things.
It sounds to me like you needed a cleaning company.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then that led to, you thought you should get in the cleaning business, right? Perfect segue.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, what did make it? So you sold TriFit then. So you went through a lot of abuse from government, everything else to try to get to where you want it to be. What made you sell that business and transfer into cleaning, since Christine loves cleaning so much?
So, well, we had been running the Pink Wand for 2 years before we decided to sell.
This wasn't
No.
transition.
We were doing both businesses.
Yeah, we had an amazing manager who was the face for us. And then Tracy and I alternated days that we would be at the company for that day. And the day that we were at the gym, we figured out a way to have our office completely remote, with the idea that one day we'll both be sitting on a beach somewhere working in the hopefully near future instead of in an office. So there's a lot of thought behind that. And then eventually the manager was doing such a good job. We looked at the numbers and it did not make sense to get us out of that hole from TriFit, from the debt we accumulated. Would have taken till our retirement. So it was a non-emotional numbers decision. What kind of life do we want? And we had to make that choice.
Okay, so the fitness company required you to acquire a lot of debt to keep going. And the fight of making that debt go away plus running something else didn't make any financial sense, is what I hear you saying.
Yeah.
Not at all.
And we were just able to scale quicker with the Pink Wand. And as far as our goals, we can put them as large as we want. It's an easier business to grow at a faster rate.
So what I'm hearing is, and I'm going to say it's not that you don't love the Pink Wand cleaning business, because I know you do, but you had a real passion in your core, in your DNA about TriFit, the training business, and you were able to take a step back and maybe, it sounds like, mentally make a transition from we love being a fitness company to we love being successful business owners. And that's maybe what started to help you make the decision. Is that kind of what happened?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I also think that we are able to, within the Pink Wand, still follow our passion of helping people. So yes, yeah, just in a different way. And for us, it's helping not only our clients have time to be able to do the things they want to do, but also our main focus is our staff. And we're wanting to create and teach and lead leaders, women in the community, teach them how to be successful themselves. And so that's really our main focus. But yes, we're able to shift it to wanting to be a successful business owner, but then also keep within our passion. We had to search for that. It took a little bit to find it. But now, on the other side of it, I think, speak for Christine as well, and we both feel that way, I think. Hey, Christine?
Yeah, for sure.
Here's what I heard you say. I hated cleaning so much until I learned to love it. But it sounds to me more like
I still don't like it, Dennis.
No.
There you go. So it's not so much the cleaning side. There, so you're gonna finish that for me. It's not so much the
Yes.
cleaning side that you love; it's the operating the business side of it that you love a lot more than just the cleaning side of it.
Yes.
Thanks to Greg and the teachings and all the lessons, I have learned that I love business through and through. And so to be able to apply the knowledge that I've learned and to be able to forecast and make decisions based on the knowledge that I have to grow a thriving company is what gets me up every morning. I'm excited to see where we're going. As I look back at the hardships, I realize those were lessons I needed to learn to be able to grow, to be able to take the company to where we need it to go. I don't think I could have done it if I hadn't have gone through all that. So for me, that's the excitement. I love working with the ladies, but I'm just every day driven to see where we can go. And my goals just keep growing because I'm that excited about it.
I love that. Boy, I want to expand on that. What you just said for a business owner is ridiculously invaluable. I would argue, I believe that you can't find a company that's a high performer. And I mean like a high performer. And I would say your business, your franchise you own is a high performer because I know the numbers. Your company's a high performer right now. I don't think, and I don't care how big the company is, I mean high performer, profitable. I don't think a company can become a high performer if the owner or the executive team or the management team hasn't been through one of those like rock bottom hardships in business. And you two have had that. And it just I've been through that myself. It completely changes your perspective and your decision-making process. It just allows you to cut through the BS and get to what's right faster. You just, yeah. I just wanted to expand on what you just said because I think that's such an invaluable piece of advice you just gave that anybody watching this, maybe that's the moral of your story, the two of you, and we'll keep going on the story and hear the end. But the moral of the story is you went through that rock bottom hardship in business, and that's what's made you so good right now as business owners, and it's made your business such a high performer. And that's an unbelievable lesson for people. If anybody watching this, if you're a business owner and you're going through a hardship, find the way and make the tough decisions and do what you have to do, which in your case, you actually pivoted and changed businesses. You're still applying the same principles. So yeah, such a good lesson, such a good piece of advice. I appreciate you shared that. Sorry, and I also want to go back to something else you said. Okay, so somebody who's a business owner and their business is kind of like your business, it's cleaning. They have a store, cleaning company, maybe a mechanic shop, and they're like, well, staff, so hard to deal with, and, they're turning over all the time, and, you know what I mean? So they all say that, right? They're listening to this and they're saying that's what they're living. And I think we'd appreciate if you could expand a little bit on what you've now said is your new passion, which is your team, and helping lead them to become great leaders in their own way, which the ripple effect of that is then the staff stay and they apply themselves and they care about the customer, and then you make an impact. So if you can expand a bit on that, I think that's another really important lesson for business owners.
I'll start, Tracy, and you can finish.
Yeah.
At the beginning, actually, and I think this is where the hardships helped a lot, is realizing how much your thoughts make a difference. And so at the beginning, it was hard. Our staff was rough on us. We're used to a gym where everybody's happy, and if they're not, they work out and then they leave happy.
Right.
Finally, one day, I was very frustrated with a staff member, so much so that I put a little dent in the car, and I decided I'm not going to work that mad.
Wait, your car
anymore.
or their car?
No, it was our work car.
Okay, just checking. That changes the story
Yeah, no,
completely.
And that came from
It was our
that came
it
from
was
training
small.
in the it came from training in the smash room.
This is interesting. This is the first I've heard of the dent.
No, I didn't hit it physically. I just wasn't aware of a cement barricade, and I hit it with the corner of the bone. But anyway, because my thoughts were elsewhere. But anyway, after that day, I realized I don't want to be angry at work like that anymore. I'm done. And so that thought led to I can control my thoughts. I am going to change things. And Tracy and I had a talk shortly after, that we decided we need to change the attitude and the way the culture is in our company. I decided to quit speaking poorly of my staff. So we don't even if we're upset with how things are going or it's a frustrating day, I will never verbally say negative things because it's not going to help anybody. So for us, that was the first process, is to change the way our minds thought about the situation, to change the culture in our atmosphere, in our staffing. And the minute we changed that, it was very interesting how things work. People either quit or we started having new people come in that were in line with what our values were. So really what it was is we had built strong values through TriFit, through what we've gone through. When you go through hard times, you build those values. That's what helps you survive. And then we went back to them and we're just like, these are our values. This is what we stand for. We're not going to stand for anything less. And now that would have been 2 years ago. So now 3 years in, we have staff that stand strongly by these values. And they will tell us, this person isn't going to work with us. We do give them a chance still. It will work and be fair. But usually they're right now. And so it's pretty amazing to see how that transferred over. And it just started with just changing our mindset.
So your staff are protecting your culture as much as you guys are.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that we were in control of what kind of environment we were creating. It's not the staff that controls it, it's you that controls it. So like Christine said, changing your mindset, I think that was definitely the turnaround point for us.
Very cool. I love that story because that just makes me think of pro sports, right? Like pro team sports is famous for championship teams. What makes them a championship? Because at that level, these athletes are all unbelievable. So what separates the championship teams from the not ones, a big part of it is the cohesiveness of the team, like you're talking about. And you hear stories about how a championship team, they'll talk about their journey, like you're talking about your journey, and they'll say, hey, there was this one moment after this one game, we had this one player that just was negative, wasn't into it, wasn't cohesive with the team. So we threw the coaches out of the room and we called that player out as a team. So as I hear your story, I picture that. And that's like, so a business owner might go, oh, well, I get that in pro sports because they all make millions and they're vested. And, in a cleaning company, you could never do that. But you're here sitting here telling us you did do that. And that's awesome, which means any business can do that. So very cool.
I think too, it's a lot of just showing your staff that you actually care about them and their lives, and that they aren't just a number, that they do contribute to the success of your business. So it is important that they're vested and have your values, because they have just as much to do with the success of your business as you do. So you are working as a team.
But case in point, we have 2 examples of 2 employees that are with us that are so overqualified, could get jobs elsewhere in other areas in their expertise, but they believe in what we've built as our foundation and our values. And one of them specifically, she's in the office with us, Sonia. She believes in it so much that when I listen to her on the phone, I become motivated because of the way she talks about our company and Tracy and I, and the way that these girls back us up is pretty impressive.
So listener doesn't lose kind of maybe, okay, how do I get there? I believe you're using the hiring process. Probably you have some team meeting agenda, you're using that tool. Are you using the performance review tool as well? Like, what are some of the tools that are helping people understand what are some things I can do to help me achieve that in my business? What of those tools in our program are you using right now?
Well, we found that the hiring ad, right from the hop, you're attracting those people that have your values, because you're explaining what you're about as a company. You're trying to sell yourself, obviously, to these employees, and so that attracts a lot of the like-minded people. So we are definitely using that. We do performance reviews as well, and so we are utilizing that as well. Anything else?
You got to talk about Tracy. You got to talk about your future focus instead of actual reviews. That's
true. So Just as of late, I would say the last, what has it been, a month, I guess, we've developed this program. It's called Future Focused Development. And what it is just a list of questions getting to know our employees. Where do you see yourself in 6 months to a year? What types of roles might you be interested in our company as we grow? What do you think your strengths are? Where can we utilize you? And it's just a discussion on where they see themselves, if they see themselves long-term with the company. And these meetings have been super successful. We've gotten to know a lot about our staff and areas that they actually do want to stay with our company and grow with our company and move towards different positions that come available. Not just in the cleaning realm, but in the admin side, the social media side, like all aspects of the business.
The other part too I like is, even if because we get young women that work with us, and we learn too that, oh, I would like to go to school for this. So then for us to be able to say, oh, that's fantastic, and support them with what their goals are, instead of making people feel like, oh, well, you're not staying with us, then, we don't care as much about you. So I like that part of the future focus as well, is it's your future, not just the company's future. And so it makes them feel like they're more valued while they're with us. And commonly what happens is, well, actually it's been 100% of the girls that have been with us full time. They go to school every single holiday, every time there's time off, they want to come back and work on their time off with us. So now we've retained, so we have 2 high school girls, because there's a teacher strike going on in Alberta right now. We actually have 3 high school girls working with us today because they'd rather be working than sitting around. So to maintain that long-term retention, plus these girls tell their friends, so we do get a lot of referral staff as well.
Very cool.
And I find too, just by having these meetings, you get an idea of where their mindset is, and we get kind of a gauge as to future hiring. Are they going to be going to school in September? Are they going to be going? So then we can kind of gauge when we're going to need more staff as well.
Yeah, good point.
Nice. Good point.
So what other lessons did you take from the previous business that you've applied to this one? We've talked about staff. We've talked about HR. What other things have you guys brought across? You mentioned before looking at the numbers that didn't make sense. Like what do you look at to make numbers decisions? Is it just here's my QuickBooks, it's telling me I'm not making money, I guess I should adjust, or do you go deeper than that?
I'll let you handle that one, Christine. You're the numbers gal. You go for it.
Well, Greg has this wonderful spreadsheet that I love. And with this spreadsheet, it really dissects the numbers. And what I find interesting actually is, by taking the P&L each month and popping it into the spreadsheet, I have to correct our accountant and bookkeeper's mistakes. So that is a great filter. I know, right, Greg? It's a good filter, because keeping an eye on your numbers, we throw it out loosely like it's easy, but it's not. You do have to go through it with a fine-tooth comb. I'll quickly look over the P&L and be like, oh, yeah. And then I'll go in and start pushing the numbers over and realize that, no, we're missing some things here, or this is not in the right category. It's in expenses and it's actually revenue, or somebody put a check through as an expense and it should be on the other side. So for us, even just keeping that very clean is important to us. As well as we understand that our staff are on the lower pay scale as the corporate world. But we value these people and we want them to succeed with us. So being able to look at the numbers and figure out bonus structures or different ways, how can we keep paying them their top dollar, but still be a successful company? Because the other side of it is, if we're not a successful, secure company, then they have no job security, which there's value in that as well.
Really good point.
I was talking to a client before this podcast, and he's like comparing his business to somebody else's business. I was like, well, you can. The problem is that when you understand what your numbers sit like, you realize where your magic ratios lie. And when you start to play with your own magic ratios, you start to see where the possibilities are, and not just getting lost in the whole revenue versus I got to lay people off because I don't have enough money game. You actually go, wait a minute. If I fix this ratio here, I end up with a bit more down here, which means I can give it back to there, and you get to play a more intelligent game, not just a reactionary game.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I find when I have a better understanding of the numbers, I can be more creative. You can find more solutions. Where if you just have a vague idea of the numbers, it's hard to find solutions. So, and one example is bringing somebody into the office. There's jobs you can give them that's like just data entry or reviewing, but or I could look at it as how can I make sure this person is working very efficiently for the company and making money for us while they're working. So that's where we then decide to what are the most important jobs to delegate. Having Sonia in sales has bumped our conversion rate up to 82%. So now I have that number and I'm like, wow, let's keep pushing that number. So that's another number that isn't a dollar figure, but it ends up increasing my dollar figures.
Yep. And the fact you even just said that means you're measuring it. And then the fact you're measuring it means you can make decisions like you just made, which then affects your revenue. Because I know the example you just gave, we talked about in our last session, that conversion rate went up and that had a direct impact on your revenue jumping up. So then your mind goes to, well, gee, how can I give her more responsibility there to get the revenue to even jump more? So the fact it starts with the fact you're measuring the number. And then all of that you just said
Right.
is a snowball. Love it. Yeah.
Well, and one of the things, Greg, that we teach a lot of the times is the purpose of a process is to protect the profit. So if I've got a staff member who's got an exorbitantly high conversion rate compared to everybody else, well, now I've got something I can dive into and create a system around and training around. So then my position becomes not individual specific or franchise player driven. If they leave them screwed, it becomes, no, here's the reason why we follow this sales process and this is what it leads to. So I think it's got a good two-part punch there. That's really cool. But you can't know that unless you know the conversion rates, which means you can't know that unless you're tracking numbers. So
Exactly.
Right.
And
Hopefully it's
that's
together.
exactly what we're doing. Like we're creating systems around what's working. And so we can plunk anybody into that system to still produce the same results. So it's not person based, it's system based, and we can just it allows us to grow as quick as we can, being as less uncomfortable than when we were first growing the company.
Well, it's actually just tying the two of these things in together. What I think most people miss about business in general is how related to physical fitness it actually is. Like if I'm going to the gym and I'm serious about change, I'm tracking numbers that matter. I'm looking at muscle mass to fat ratios. I'm looking at diet. I'm looking at exercises. I'm looking at recovery. I'm looking at all the stuff that actually creates change, but yet you've taken those same principles, applied our tools to it, and gone, if that works for fitness, it should also work in the business world. And it's like you took the same discipline and just simply applied it somewhere else.
And taking it further, the goal setting. Goal setting is so big in fitness. And I've talked to other business owners and they don't have a goal. And I think that's the weirdest thing ever, because how can you operate without a goal? You know, so I think that's a big thing too, is goal setting was such a norm for us.
I was going to say, I think the reason why they don't do it is because they've got no idea where they're at, and how do you plan for something if I don't know where I'm at? Right? Like I think in the fitness world, you learn how to track micros, macros, workouts, timeframes, recovery to know what's possible because you know what you've done. I think most people get lost in the whole, well, it's just a business, it's just a numbers game. My accountant tells me what to do. If I set a goal, sure, it could be nice, but there's no emotional reality behind it because they don't actually know what's going on. Where you guys intimately know what's going on, that makes goal setting profoundly easy. Would that be fair?
And just love it. And just to expand on what you just said, part of the goal setting is, and what we work hard with our clients on, and you two become good at this, and I think maybe this is your point. Part of the goal setting is, what's the goal? And then work it backwards. What numbers do I have to hit and change to get there? And then the activity becomes, what do I do to change those numbers? And that whole planning process actually makes the goal believable. Because now, like, I know you two well enough to know, and you're very goal orientated, you'll set a goal and then we work the plan with the numbers, and then what activities got to happen to make those numbers come true. And now you see the path, you believe the goal can come true, and then boom, you hit the goal, and then okay, it's the next one. And what that's led to, if we're to recap your story, what that's led to, without sharing numbers, in TriFit, your training business, things were going good. You know, excuse my language, the fucking pandemic punched you in the mouth, dropped, right? And then, to make this PG, and then you figured out a way to kind of make TriFit sort of get back, get to a point where it's above water, it's surviving, it's working, but then you pivot, you go to a new company, you apply the same principles to this new business. And without sharing numbers, my quick calculations, in 3 years, you've literally tripled your revenue, and your net profit percent after paying yourself a fair market wage for the jobs you do is in the upper echelon of upper echelons. Like, any business owner out there in the world would be ecstatic to have your net profit percent. So that's just proof in the pudding of that whole, like, set the goal, build the plan, set the goal, build the plan. But by building the plan, you believe you can achieve it. And now you're just creating this. And I know the two of you are nowhere near content. You want to keep going, but still have a work-life balance, right?
No, when you were talking through this and you're talking about being the upper echelon of the upper echelon of net profit, there's a temptation for somebody listening to that and making some assumptions. When I'm looking at the whole thing, it's number one, if you're running a business like you guys are, there should be rewards for being financially literate and knowing what works. Number two, when I also hear you guys' story, you have the philosophy of water floats all boats. So there doesn't seem to be anything you're doing in the business that's in spite of or on the backs of somebody else for your own personal benefit. So like when people enter into the business world, it's when you really start to understand the fact that when you know the numbers, know the decisions that you make, you can do so much for so many people, and unfortunately it takes money to do that, which is energy. So you have the chance to pour so much more energy back onto the fire and make so much more changes for people because you're able to watch the numbers and become in that upper echelon of upper echelons. And yet there's so many other cleaning companies who make more revenue than you guys do who don't have that ability. They're just fighting for more revenue and market share. So I don't want to bypass that as though we have multi-billionaires sitting at the table and they're not being selfish with it. It's just, this is the way business works.
I think the biggest thing we had to learn going from running a gym to a cleaning company is our goal setting had to increase. We actually weren't making our goals big enough, or we were just running that efficiently, and the applications that we learned were working so well that we were going above what our projections are. So for me, that's exciting. All my life I've been goal setting, but now suddenly it's like I need to set goals that I never imagined I'd be setting. Like that's fun. That's exciting.
Yeah.
And most people have the goal of how do I make payroll next week?
Right.
Well, that's a big number too, but it goes hand in hand.
And I think what's really cool here is you have so a lot of people talk about work-life balance, and I know that's important to the two of you. However, you've done it the right way. Well, in my opinion, the right way. I guess this could be argued, but you earned the right to have a work-life balance you've defined and will continue to redefine, I'm sure. But a lot of business owners think, oh, I'm going to go open or start or buy a business, and day one, I'm going to have this work-life balance. And it doesn't work that way. If you think day one's work-life balance, which means your foot's off the gas, you're probably going to have no work-life balance. You're going to be stressed your whole life because you never apply yourself and figure out how to make the business profitable, yet also systemized, get the team like you guys have the team going, so that you can actually have a work-life balance. Maybe speak a little bit to that, because I think from my experience, business owners need to hear that. They need to hear you got to earn the work-life balance. And the two of you have done it in 3 years, which is really cool, right?
It didn't happen at first. It was a long process to find that balance. A couple years, Christine, hey? Like, it was tough.
Yeah.
It was tough. It was nonstop.
6 a.m. till 10 p.m. It was either working, driving to work, looking on the computer in the middle of cleaning, while on the phone with a client while cleaning. It was a lot of balance and trying to obviously be a mom and the household, chores of cleaning. Well, cleaning I didn't have to worry about, thankfully. But the cooking, getting your kids to different events, those we had to lean on. Thankfully, both of us had husbands that were able to help us in that situation. We wouldn't have been able to do it otherwise. There was no balance. Our workout was cleaning, which coming from a gym, that's hard. That's hard not to be able to work out, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's kind of counterintuitive to what everybody says is buy a business and go live in Mexico, right? Like that's probably how it all works.
Actually, that is a good point. I wish we could do that.
Well, I was talking. I have another client that I acquired, and his entire goal was free up some of his time because he got tired of working those late days. And my comment back to him was, the only way you ever get time back is to buy it. And unfortunately, people think that they're just entitled to have it, but the only way you get your time back is to buy it. And to buy it, you have to be able to put the work in to make the investment turn around, to be able to pay for that time to come back. So that's why Greg is very careful to say you earn your work-life balance. You don't just get work-life balance. And I also think the phrase balance is hilarious because that means some days it goes like this and some days it goes like this, and you hope to find that happy middle.
That's a good point. And another thing I'd add to that, which I was at a meeting with, I think 12 other ladies who are all very high performing businesses, not the same as ours. And one thing I realized while sitting with these ladies, and some of them had 15 plus years in their company, very successful companies. And one thing I did realize is most of them do not have work balance. So I think that's a big part too, is to see the numbers, to understand that if I want my time, I have to buy it. So how do I make my numbers work to continue to keep my company being as profitable as it is, but then I can have my balance. So that was a great lesson for me.
Well, and your employees get that, right? Like your employees get a check-in time and a check-out time, and they get their vacation time, and they get their weekends, and they get all of that stuff. The only difference is if you run the business, it costs you way more money to have that same lifestyle than it costs them to have that lifestyle. So you really need to know your numbers intimately to understand how to set that goal and be able to buy your way out, which is what you guys did. Which doesn't mean you sit back and go, hey guys, look, I made it, because then the wheels come off. So it's like, that's the balance part. It's I got to do the work to get the time. And it's a different lifestyle. Most people can't handle it.
Yeah.
And I think you're constantly having to check in with that, the work-life balance, because it's not always the same. Just depending on what's going on with the company as to how much you got to give.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so other than things we've discussed, what other tips or advice would you give business owners based on your journey, which has been an extremely interesting journey? What other advice would you give? Could be little, could be big.
I would say to first of all, have a business coach that keeps you in a line and stuff, but trust the process, because there is a light. Like, just trust the process. Just keep hammering on, paying attention to those numbers, and just one foot in front of the other.
That's good advice.
So a question around that. I know that some people are going to have who've never entered into the world of hiring a business coach. What should they actively look for? Because like personal trainers, they're probably as varying as a box of donuts.
probably more varying than a box of donuts. Some of the boxes have no donuts.
Yeah, that's a valid point. Well, because you've obviously been working with Greg for a while, but you also know other people who've worked with other coaches before. So if you were to give the advice to someone, say, hey, look, you're looking for somebody, what should be on their radar to look for? Most people say, well, do they have fruit on the tree? But fruit on the tree doesn't mean anything. It's what tangibly should they be looking for as a coach?
I think people jump in too quickly without actually doing research. You interview an employee to come work for you. It's no different where you're trying to find somebody to help you and guide you. You got to have some sort of understanding of what they offer. Am I compatible with that person? Do I align with what their value system is? To us, that was important. From the beginning, we saw that Greg really, truly cares about us as a company, and Greg wanted to see us succeed. And to have that support and that cheerleader in the background is big. We also loved the fact that all decisions were made without taking the emotion, putting it aside, and being able to just focus on what needed to be done. And for us, that is important. We don't like to do emotional decision making. It's never a good thing. And so for us, we did our research. We were able to attend a workshop to just get an understanding of what all do we learn, because we'd never even looked at business coaching before. And once it all aligned, we're like, okay, let's do this. It was a big commitment for us at the time. Looking at the numbers, it probably was more than we should have done. But do we regret it? No, not at all, because we took it seriously. That's the other thing I think people do is, oh yeah, let's do this, and they sign up. But you need to take advantage of what's offered to you, and there's so much offered that even for us it's hard to take advantage of all of it, but it's there for you, so you're paying for it. Do it, make yourself better and grow.
And I also looked at it as educational. I mean, I never went to business school. A lot of stuff we learned is invaluable. The systems that you had, tools, if you will, for each thing within the business, those are also very important, because you could take those, and even though you're not in a one-on-one session, we can still utilize those tools without actually having to have you there and apply them to the business.
So it's not just fruit on the tree. Is there a tangible plan? Do you get along with them? Do they have the tools to actually help you? And are you going to take it seriously? So it sounds like exactly like if I was hiring a personal trainer.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like I usually tell people when they hire me. I said, like, look, you got to look at this like personal training. My bench press is fine. I can lift enough. You need the work, so I'll be there to help spot you, but I'm not doing it for you.
Yeah. So what's the point? And I wanted to say too, the little words of advice, the thing that I've learned through all this is, if you're comfortable, you gotta start figuring out new goals, because being uncomfortable is where you're gonna see the best results and the biggest changes. So I try to be uncomfortable.
I think there comes a point in a business where you live in a world of chaos for a period of time, and your whole life revolves around that chaos, and you get used to living in that level. And then you get to a point where suddenly, hey, wait a minute, the money's fine. My lifestyle's fine. My bills are paid. I'm not stressed. And that chaos starts to shift. And I think you're correct. If I don't have my mindset on the next level of goals that drives me to some level of uncomfortable chaos, I'm just going to blow apart what I built, because you're so used to operating in something chaotic. You're either going to blow up what you had and try to rebuild it, or you have to set your sights on the next target, or you're never going to achieve anything.
And that's like Tracy and I know Greg is always trying to get us to celebrate our wins. And we're like, yeah, yay, good, high five. But honestly, that's where it's coming from, is we're in a place where day by day, do we keep our business open because we don't have clients walking through the door thanks to lockdowns. So when you're coming from that place, yes, we've achieved great things, and yes, we recognize that, and yes, we're excited about it, but there's still that little voice in the back saying, don't get comfortable, because we've seen how easily it can all fall apart and be taken away. And I'm not saying that that's the case now, but you have a different understanding, right? You never know. Nothing is guaranteed. Yeah. But if we celebrate, move on, set new goals, it's just putting us in a better position for our own security as well. But it just keeps things moving along.
Well, that's very wise.
And I love that. And I think a hidden message behind what you just said, Christine, is if you're not pushing like that, and again, define pushing, right? There's a difference between back when you're a tri-fit and your business is being shut down, and like that's a whole different definition of pushing forward than your definition of pushing forward today, right? Today, you're managing it and making it a healthy pushing forward where it's not super stressful. But that being said, if you don't do that, what happens in the world, and I think business owners get their butt kicked with this all the time, is if you're not, like, I think we can all agree in the world today, technology and people's knowledge are always improving. We like to think that, although sometimes I look around and think that may not be happening. But let's assume everybody's always improving.
It should be trying to always improve.
Right. So let's assume everybody's improving. If all businesses are improving, then this becomes flatlining, right? Like planing, like where people think this is planing, actually this is planing because everybody's improving, which means your competitors are all improving at a certain level. So if you don't improve at a greater level, then what happens is if you do flat and your competitors are improving, before you blink, you're behind the eight ball and then you can't catch up. So I think what you just shared is maybe even more important than the listener might realize, in that what I just mentioned, like you gotta improve at a greater rate than your competition, or you're actually going backwards without realizing it. So back to Dennis's original point about don't get too comfortable. Yeah, huge.
Well,
That's a
and
huge lesson.
it's
Good piece of
also, I
advice.
think, the way you guys are approaching it is a lot more like building a rocket than building a business. You're looking at where all the numbers sit, what the fundamentals are, what needs to change and be adjusted. You're building a foundation, then you're adding rocket fuel to it, and then you're adjusting as you go, and you're building a foundation. And I saw a fantastic meme the other day posted by a guy I've got a lot of respect for that says, if hard work was the answer, the donkey would own the farm. Right? It's not just about working hard, it's about working smart and hard. And I think that's where most people forget. They go, I'm going to go into business and I'm just going to work hard and I'm going to sell stuff and I'm going to bring in revenue and my revenue is a great number, but they still go home and they can't afford cornflakes.
Right.
Where you guys are in a situation of going, well, how about instead of struggling that way, we set goals, we're smart about it, let's analyze the rocket, let's break down the numbers, let's see what we have to do next, let's get the team on board, let's reward them for their effort, let's benefit the clients, let's focus on all of these different things that isn't just you guys pulling the cart. You're playing the concert, not playing the instrument, if that makes sense, which is a huge difference
Yeah.
from most people I talk to.
And bringing in people that are either smarter than you or know the role so well that you can just be the person asking them and guiding them, and they're doing a better job than you could ever do. That's, to me, a perfect person and a perfect position.
Well, and because you know enough about what you're doing, you're able to delegate, not abdicate. You know if they're doing the right job because you know what they should be following. You're not just throwing somebody in the place and say, go do it, and I'm 100% trusting you with my business, to only find out that they've been screwing you over and you didn't even realize it. So it's all the smart stuff that you guys are doing that is a direct result of where you're at now.
Love it. Okay, so you two have been partners for like 15, 16 years now? How long?
14.
Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry.
15. 15.
12,
15.
Tracy. Because Rowan's going to
No,
be
we had-
12.
Man, you guys sound like a
So-
married couple. How long we've been married now?
No, it's 13
But we
years. 13 years.
13
because,
years, yeah.
Yeah, because Rowan's,
Cool.
I go by how old my son is. He's going to
That's
be
right.
12, so it's 13 years.
Because we opened TriFit in 2012, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what advice would you give business owners where there's partnerships? What, from your experience, because you've been able to do it successfully, what advice would you share with them?
You're going to go,
Do you want me to
Trace?
start?
Sure.
Lots and lots of wine.
Yeah.
At the beginning, yes. But then it didn't help.
Yeah, no, that didn't. No. I would say communication is key. I know Christine, she spoke in an event and she actually likened it to, well, it's a marriage. So you have to be willing to work through the tough conversations and also celebrate the wins, those sorts of things. But it's definitely communication is key, and also playing to your strengths. Christine is a completely different person than I am for a reason. We're not all the same, and we enjoy doing different things, which is great in a partnership, because it just has worked out for us that each of the roles within the companies that we've had suit our personalities and what we enjoy doing and what we want to get out of the business. So just really playing to your strengths and knowing what your weaknesses are.
And not expecting the other person to have the exact same strengths you do.
Yes.
No, it wouldn't
it
work
just
at
becomes
all.
a headbutting thing.
Yeah, and we had to talk through it. We had to talk through, even today, I talked to Tracy before the podcast here, and I have been drained. We've been having to deal with a little bit of HR stuff, and I lay on my couch and I can't function. So I called Tracy. I said, I'm sorry, but I can't do HR. You're going to have to take it over. And so that's an area where I recognize this is not a good spot for me to be in. It is Tracy's strength. So being able to communicate that and identify that this isn't, I'm not going to be working at my best and contributing. So Tracy will take it over completely, and just always having that back and forth.
Yeah. I think that's where people miss too. It's if you're going to have a business partner, make sure that when you're going into it, you understand each other and can communicate well, because otherwise everything is going to just fall apart. Mm-hmm. Or one person will end up doing more work than somebody else, and then they're just going to create bitterness and anger. And I'm not a fan of partnerships, business partnerships, because so few of them ever actually succeed. So well done, guys.
Yeah.
And
very
I
cool.
think
Good
that
advice.
that is a good point, because if you don't communicate through those issues of bitterness, resentment, if you leave it and don't communicate, that just builds up and it is going to crumble apart. So that's why Tracy said, communication first, because everything you look at and the negative side of working in partnership, communication can commonly help you work through that. So for us, that is why it is the most important part for us.
And both parties have to be willing.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So I just dragged Tracy by the hair outside to make her talk to me.
Okay, so our producer likes to ask a couple of off-the-cuff questions to let the audience kind of get to know us all a little bit better. So I'll read them and we'll kind of go around in a circle and answer them. First question, do you like to cook? If you do, what's your specialty? And I'll start with Christine.
I will cook if needed, but I actually love to bake. So my son's most requested food is actually a banana cake with cream cheese icing or brown sugar icing.
I've just discovered my newly most requested food.
Sounds yummy. Dennis.
It is.
Well, I used to cook a lot of different stuff. The problem that I have is that I don't write anything down and I experiment a lot. So there's some nights where I'll make like a chicken dish with whatever. My wife will be like, this is amazing. Can you do it again? And I'm always like, nope. This is a one-off. It's not happening again. I got no idea what I did. But that's, I think, one of my favorite things to do in the kitchen is just experiment with stuff. So there's nothing I'm really good at. It's just I get to play and have fun with it.
Nice. Well, actually, so I'm going to reference Dennis for a sec. You showed us how to make homemade tartar sauce because our cabin's on the coast and we're getting fish all the time. We make fish and chips all the time. And we're using your non-measured scientific recipe for tartar sauce. So it tastes a little different every time, but it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Way better than the store-bought stuff. Tracy.
I do enjoy cooking. I enjoy cooking for not just my family, but a lot of people. My daughter would say probably her favorite is my lasagna.
Huh.
Nice.
Because it has all meat and no noodles.
Yeah. Right? Exactly.
I make my...
Oh, I do put roasted vegetables in mine, but I do have a lot of meat as well. So I do put Italian sausage, ground beef, noodles. I do put noodles in it. Yeah.
Well, you're supposed to, and it's not everybody's as ignorant as me when it comes to baking.
And actually, I can see how the roasted vegetables would make it really good. That'd be different.
That's
does.
That's a
good idea.
Yeah, it's really good. Mm-hmm.
Mine by far.
Oh, and you have to use ricotta cheese.
Ah.
Yeah, for sure. Ricotta is a definite game changer.
Not cottage cheese, ricotta cheese. Yeah.
My wife does the same thing.
That's a good point. Yeah, good point. Good advice. Mine by far now is using the smoker for sure. Love, oh man, ribs or tri-tip or anything on the smoker. Brisket, whatever it is. Awesome. And now with smokers, you can use an app.
Yeah, keep track of it. I think when we were over at your place, you had the app on there.
Yeah. Now I can go out and do stuff, and I can use the app and do the smoking while I'm out. That didn't sound right. Do the smoking while I'm out. Anyway, you get the idea. Okay, next question. Okay, what's your childhood favorite chocolate bar or candy? Christine, favorite candy or chocolate bar in your childhood?
I grew up on a farm, a long ways from any grocery store. So mine is actually baking, so that probably makes sense why I enjoy baking. So my mom made this delicious cake, and my dad would call it baby bum cake because it was as smooth as a baby's bottom. So it's like
I'm glad that's why it was called baby bum cake.
Oh no, it was good, and to this day, it's still a family favorite. It's a layer of shortbread, and then a layer of like caramel, and then this is a soft, smooth finish. It's delicious. So that would be my version of candy.
Good.
Man, I would describe that so much differently at every family reunion. It's not caramel, let me tell you. There's a reason we call it baby bum cake. That sounds good.
Dennis, how about you?
Yeah.
It's ever since a kid until today, my favorite candy is still the Tootsie Roll. Don't know why. It has a strong resemblance to cat poop, but I still really enjoy it.
Is that
on that topic?
Is that Is that why every Halloween you're out trick or treating still?
Not at all, but it's why every Halloween
are you
when my
giving
kids
Tootsie
go to
Rolls?
bed.
No? Oh, well then I'm too old. Don't worry about it.
Greg, Greg, I own a business. I've got my 3 little servants or employees that go out and get the candy for me, and I filter it when they go to bed.
You sound like a government with taxes.
Same thing. That's how I teach my kids about tax. I get 30%
My
of your
house,
candy.
my Tootsie Rolls. Tracy, how about you?
Well, most people would say chocolate, but I am actually a caramel person, so I loved Macintosh toffee, even though it's stuck to your teeth and had to visit the dentist afterwards.
Right.
But I love that stuff. Yeah.
Okay, Tracy, I'll bring you some baby bum cake next time I go to the farm.
I know. Hearing you describe it, I'm like, oh, I think I'd like that.
I think you would like it.
I think you would too. But just make sure you put Macintosh toffee in there so you can really watch her chew through it.
Yeah.
So I'm a chocolate and caramel guy. So I don't see them around anymore, and I think they were only in Canada. But there was one called Pep Chew. So it was mint flavored toffee covered in chocolate, and I don't even know if they make them anymore. Then they got caramel and chocolate. They got the best of both worlds.
So like junior caramels
Awesome.
type things.
Yeah, it was more mint flavored toffee. So it was like a Macintosh, mint flavored, but then covered in chocolate. And I haven't seen them in years. Might be because I ate them all. I don't know.
Probably. I visited you in Arizona. I don't think there's a candy shop we missed.
Awesome. Christine, Tracy, thank you very much. Amazing story, incredible journey, lots of lessons to learn there. Really appreciate you sharing the story and joining the podcast. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us. It's been a fun journey, and we're excited for where all our training that you've guided us along the way, where it's going to take us. We're very excited.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the More Profit, Less Stress podcast. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast platform and leave a comment or review if you're feeling generous. To learn more about us and what we do, check out our website. Until next time, take care.